Inter Milan are keen on a Liverpool midfielder. Arsenal eye up an alternative to Morgan Rogers. Coventry look to keep an on-loan goalkeeper. Brighton reject a second bid for defender. And Forest star keen to keep teammate at the City Ground. Here are your daily Premier League headlines. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and to another edition of the Premier League news headlines. I'm Lee The Dorset Spur, and if you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Okay, so let's get into it. Inter Milan's sporting director has admitted the club are still interested in Liverpool midfielder Curtis Jones this summer. Sky Sports News revealed last month that the Serie A club are still monitoring Jones' availability. Jones made 16 starts in the Premier League, including 7 in a row at the end of the campaign, but 18 of these came from the bench. However, Jones has a new head coach in Andoni Iraola this summer, who replaced Arne Slot in the Anfield hot seat. Curtis Jones, we are paying attention to him, Inter-Chief told reporters on Sunday. We didn't hide, we understand what the developments will be. Arsenal have shortlisted Morgan Gibbs-White as a potential alternative for Morgan Rogers, according to The Sun. The Gunners are keen on Rogers, who started in the first half of England's 1-0 win over New Zealand and is competing with Jude Bellingham to be the starting number 10 for Thomas Tuchel at the World Cup off the back of an excellent season for Aston Villa. However, with Paris Saint-Germain also circling, the 23-year-old Gibbs-White has been named as another option for the Premier League champions and also has admirers at the Emirates. Ollie Watkins was the only Englishman to score more Premier League goals than Gibbs-White with 15 last season, as he helped steer Nottingham Forest to safety. Gibbs-White signed a new 3-year contract at the City Ground last summer when he seemed to make a move to Arsenal's North London rivals, Tottenham. Coventry City have made a bid to sign Brighton goalkeeper Cole Rushworth. The offer is understood to be worth £20 million. Rushworth was on loan at Coventry last season and started all 46 championship games as they were promoted to the Premier League as champions. He has a year left on his contract at Brighton, with the club holding an option to extend for a further year. Brighton Chief Executive Paul Barber has confirmed the club have rejected a second bid from Tottenham Hotspur for defender Jan-Paul van Hecke. Yes, we have rejected a bid for Tottenham over the last week or so. In fact, 2 bids, he told TalkSport. From the point of view, it has to be right for us as well as the player. We have to be in a position to make the best trades to suit our model and also to make sure that we are supporting Fabian because he's got another big season ahead of him. He's had 2 seasons in the Premier League. He's finished 8th on both occasions. This time we have been fortunate enough to qualify for a European competition. Sky Sports reported earlier this week that Spurs were in talks with Brighton over the signing of the centre-back. The Dutch international has 1 year left on his contract at Brighton and worked at the South Coast club under current Spurs boss Roberto De Zerbi. With speculation swirling around Elliot Anderson's Nottingham Forest future, club teammate Chris Wood told Sky Sports what it would mean if the England midfielder stayed at the City Ground beyond this summer. Wood was speaking after facing Anderson while playing for New Zealand against England in a pre-World Cup friendly match on Saturday. He said it will be fantastic if he does stay. He's a Forest player still and we want to keep him. What will be will be. There are higher powers at play. He's outstanding. It showed tonight. It was nice to play against him for the first time and understand what he does. Some of those cutting balls were fantastic. Forest have already turned down a bid from Manchester City for Anderson, with a number of other Premier League clubs also interested. So, my thoughts on all of these subjects. Well, the one that jumps out to me straight away is Gibbs-White to Arsenal. Really disappointing to see that link as a Tottenham fan. Obviously, he was linked with us last summer before Marinakis put an end to it all. So really disappointed that we missed out on him last season. I think we would have had a better season had we have managed to get that over the line, having met his release clause. But it wasn't to be, and there has been talks earlier on this summer so far that Gibbs-White could be on the move and Tottenham would still be in for him. So to see that Arsenal are in for him, considering they are Premier League champions, unfortunately, and considering that they got to a Champions League final, I suspect they hold a little bit more sway for Gibbs-White than maybe Tottenham finishing 17th would do. But is he a second choice? They actually want Morgan Rogers, so are they picking their second choice? How does that make him feel? Does he think he's going to get a lot more game time and so on? So maybe there is still a chance for Spurs in this, but one to keep an eye on for sure. But disappointing to see Arsenal linked to this player, a player that we were keen on getting ourselves. So it just shows the quality of the player if the Premier League champions are looking at him, albeit as a second choice to Morgan Rogers. The other one obviously involves Tottenham with the transfer of Jean-Paul van Hecke. There's lots and lots of other reports about this, stating that he only wants Spurs. He wants to come to Spurs because he's worked with De Zerbi before and so on. So that is positive news. I think it's about making sure we hit the right figure for Brighton to make it possible. And lots of clubs are going to be holding out to get as best they can, because this market is what this market is. There's lots of costs and lots of money to be spent buying different players. So yeah, it'll be interesting if we could actually get that one over the line. I'd be really pleased to see that. Gives us even more defensive options. I know there's a lot of talk about defenders at the moment, knowing that we're short on creative midfielders, we're short on a striker. We're short on left-sided midfielders and so on. So there is a lot of business to do. But I think considering the problems we had in defence last season, leaking an awful lot of goals, it does make sense to get some depth in there. You don't just want two central defenders. You want four solid, good, Premier League proven, good enough to be in the first team defenders. That's what we need. We need that depth. And with lots of talks about Dragushin wanting to move on, Romero potentially moving on, Van der Ven linked with Liverpool and Manchester United. We don't know how that's all going to pan out. So for me, it makes sense to be getting some decent players in there to give us those options. Whilst we don't have Europe, we do still have the FA Cup, we still do have the Carabao Cup, so there'll be plenty of games for us to play next season. So yeah, for me, it's a good move, and if he wants to come and De Zerbi wants him, then that makes absolute sense to me. So really keen on that. The other one I just touch on is the Elliot Anderson player, looking for Manchester City looking to buy that youngster, real quality player, getting an awful lot of attention last season. And it wouldn't surprise me if there was a big move for him, but I think Forest will be looking for mega money to get him. It's the same with Adam Wharton as well. Two players that are really, really well thought of around the clubs, and if they can get purchased, I think the teams getting them will get really good players there. But as I say, will he stay at Forest? Who knows? I guess if the money is big enough, then there's always an option, isn't there? But would it be a good move for him to go to City with all the quality players they've got there? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Whether he's going to get time. Lots of careers have died having gone to Manchester City, haven't they? When you think about, Grealish, for instance, who has got a load of trophies and stuff like that, but really his career stumbled there. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out in the longer run. But whichever way it goes, it's going to be a lot of money for that player, and there'll only be certain clubs that will be able to afford him, I think. That's my view anyway. But anyway, listen, Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like, comment and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. I'm Lee The Dorset Spur. I've got my own channel, so if you'd like to pop over and say hi, I'd love to have you. It would be great to see my little channel grow. But as always, I'll see you on the next one. And as always, whisper it quietly in these ones, up the Spurs.